Hello and welcome to a new episode of the You Got the Ron Dude podcast. I'm your host, Ron Jammin. I appreciate you tuning in. This episode, going to be talking about the old video rental days. Video stores. Some of you listening, you may have been too young or not even born yet, because video stores don't exist anymore where you go and rent stuff. Now, there are still like Redbox, things like that, but I'm not actually sure how popular those are. But let's get right into it. So I remember very vividly, I even remember walking around choosing a movie to buy, not to rent. This was in August of 2009. I remember it very vividly because it was the end of the video stores in the area I lived in. Because in the city I lived in, there were at least 2 Blockbusters and 2 Hollywood Videos, at least. And then, YouTube came along. Streaming wasn't really a thing yet, but it was just easier to get things online. So I bought a good year on DVD, and that Hollywood Video then became a paint store. And it's interesting because you look back and it's like, well, I miss going out with friends and going to the video store because that was like an adventure. And but at the same time, it's nice to just put something on to find a movie right away. But over the years, one of the issues that I had with streaming is that a lot of times they didn't have the bonus content. So I still like buying physical media. I would go to FYE in the mall. They sold movies, and because I like getting those collector's editions, director's cuts, extended cuts. Now, when I look at stuff on the Microsoft Store, oftentimes they'll have just the standard movie, and then they'll have with bonus features, which I like. So that's a big difference. But yeah, so last time in a video rental store, and like I said, I didn't even rent a movie. Just bought it because they were going out of business. I don't think I actually ever had an account with a place. Like, I would go to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video with friends, and they would rent movies. But who can forget the late fees? Those were brutal. It'd be like the price of a monthly bill. Back then, not really cell phone per se, but something else like a power bill or gas, whatever. But the late fees, those worked for them. And, once something like Netflix came along, they're like, well, what if we just send you a movie and then you send it back whenever and we'll send you another one? Now, that depends. Maybe you just want a movie and you're like, you don't end up watching it for a month. Because typically we'd go out to the video store and went through with friends, of course we're going to watch it, that night. But the late fees would get you. And I don't think that contributed to the downfall. It's just the model over time. It's kind of like, what if we charge you per month? Or like the old Netflix model, we send you the movie, and then you just send it back whenever. You don't get anything until you send back that movie. And looking back at the time, you never thought, maybe one day video stores won't be a thing, video rental stores. Because I can't remember the name of any of the independent ones in the area. I'm sure there were a few, like the ones always attached to a grocery store or even inside of a grocery store. But you had the big chains like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. And you just never thought, we'll just watch everything on our TVs or even computers. Or heck, even phones. But looking back, I am surprised. I don't remember. There weren't too many of them, the independent video rental stores, but I can't even name one of them. And going out with friends to the video store, it wasn't just about picking out a movie, which was fun in itself because at the time, sometimes you didn't know what was out, what new releases. You just went in there and heck, maybe we'll get a video game. That was another thing. You could rent video games. So I think that financially was great for video stores. because that's when it was only physical media. Like, you couldn't buy a game There was no Xbox. I mean, there was probably a store, maybe. But even like DLC stuff, I'm not sure. Because we're talking, pre-2009. Before everything pretty much went away. So, but getting back to my main point. Another brilliant move, just like the movie theater. You went to the video store, you're not just renting a movie. Hey guys, let's get some popcorn, some candy, some sody pop. It was an adventure. And looking back, I'm sure the prices were pretty high, even for the time. But it's that experience. Now, another benefit of digital is back in those days, they had limited stock on movies. So let's say you wanted to watch a movie that just came out on VHS or DVD. They may not have it. Whereas digital, it's like, oh, anybody can buy this. So that is definitely an advantage. Because let's say you're all in the store. A lot of times we couldn't even decide on what to watch. Like, oh, whatever you want. They'd pick something out. And you're like, oh, no, not that. Anything else, though. But then if you all decide on a movie, they're like, oh, we don't have any copies left. It's like, oh. And as I recall, Netflix was started in 97. But even the title, Netflix, net, internet, webflix, web movies, internet movies. Like, you want to be a fly on the wall. Those early conversations, I always like watching stuff like that. When they're talking about, you'll be able to watch a movie on your computer and it'll be streaming. Like an early conversation, where back then, I mean, even when Blockbuster, they had an opportunity to buy Netflix, I believe. And they passed on it because, again, it's just like, why would you watch a movie on your computer? Because this is before, streaming was a thing. So Netflix started out and they were doing the DVDs by mail. But the title, the name of the company is brilliant because they knew eventually, because technology just evolves. And look at everything since then. 1997 was a long time ago, technology-wise. And a name like that, like, how did they foresee that? The conversations that they had. Or they just said, watch movies at home, basically. Without physical media. Okay, I have kind of a funny confession. Looking back, I mean, you're pretty desperate in those days. You wanted an adult movie, and it's like, I want to play dumb, but this is no joke. I mean, it is. If I ever do stand-up, this would definitely be one of my bits. But I rented Showgirls on VHS from the local public library. There it is, folks. I kid you not. Yes. And, VHS, so this is around the time that it came out. So this is 95, 96. And for some reason, they had it there. Because I remember, because that night, I think like my dad came into my room, saw the stack of VHSs. I wish I could remember what I said. Like, oh, I thought it was a cartoon, maybe something like that. But I was of the age, you're pretty curious in that. So he never made fun of me or anything for it. But looking back, I mean, Dad, and they let me check it out from the library. I mean, even the cover of it is very suggestive. And, yeah, those good old VHS days. No adult section, of course, in the public library. Unlike the video stores, they had that adult section. And, I don't think I ever went into one of those. And thankfully, internet was still early, so they had pictures, then later heard videos. But yeah, what a time. And yes, I did return it. I'm sure it had some scratches on it from pausing. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. I gotta go. Now, I applied at Hollywood Video, Blockbuster every year. I wanted to work there. And it's one of those jobs where they just look at you like, I mean, you can apply, but good luck. And in summer, maybe August of 2006, I remember getting hired on at the Blockbuster video. And it actually didn't work out, so I kind of chickened out in that. And at the time, I'd just gotten onto YouTube May of 2006, so a couple months before. But who could have predicted what was going to happen? But when they showed me around the store, they'd be like, this is where your section's going to be, which is pretty cool. You choose your titles. And again, this is 2006, so DVDs was the latest. No Blu-ray, that was a few years away, or several. But just the fact I got hired, I had to negotiate just to make like $7 an hour. Looking back, it's like, oof. Oh, and I almost forgot. An interview, I'm pretty sure it was another, I want to say Blockbuster. I remember it ended up, the whole building was demolished a while after, but it must have been, around 2007 or 8. I remember the person giving the interview asked me my favorite movie. I swear, in my head, I was sitting there for like 15 minutes. Because it's like MySpace, when you put in all of the movies that you like. Now it'd be like, I'm not doing that. Just ask me if I like a movie. But I sat there thinking for a while. And it's one of those, I'll take your time. It's like, are you sure? But, back at the other Blockbuster that I got hired at, the lady had asked me, Roadhouse, what were Dalton's 3 rules? Now, I'd seen clips of the movie. Now I adore it. I've seen it numerous times. But I don't think I could think of one. And they named them. I'm surprised I got hired, because even at the time, that's a popular movie. And I don't think I ever had a membership card. Because again, I would always go with friends to buy movies and stuff. But I wasn't even sure if there were any benefits to having the card. It's one of those, like, to rent stuff, I think you had to have one. At least at certain stores. But I do have some, DVDs and that with, like, exclusive at Blockbuster stickers on them. Stuff people would eventually just sell to stores like Half Price Books, FYE, I think. After video stores went away and they're like, well, I can't return this. Like, they don't exist anymore. You remember, like, the drop boxes, like the mail boxes, you'd dump them in there. Well, in closing, I miss the friendly aspect of those days. Like I said earlier in the podcast, going out with friends and, movie night and the place to be crowded usually, and just browsing through. But, the whole physical media, it just kind of went away. You can still go to the store. You can shop for movies and stuff. But if there's something not there, it's nice you can go online and buy it, because to me, it doesn't matter if it's on a disc or not. I don't really care. Now, if you're a collector, let's say, like I was talking to this buddy of mine about Star Wars, and he'd mentioned on VHS the original trilogy, and we mean original theatrical cuts, not the special editions. So some things are worth holding on to. And I even told my mom, because she would buy shows, like old TV shows on DVD, and I'm like, hang on to those, because streaming services and even networks still edit out things. Because, times change, so you can't say this, you can't wear that, certain things. And I totally understand. The point is, hold on to those original versions, those original cuts, because people will pay to see those. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd love to hear from you. If you're listening on Anchor, leave a voice message. Otherwise, links to my socials in the description. Thanks for listening to You Got the Ron Dude, and I will see you next episode.